What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Plate Coverage. Thank you very much, everybody. Just off the top, everybody for the comments and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. It really makes us really want to do this even more. Without further ado, Commish, how we doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. I wore my Orioles shirt underneath my my team stuff to the field today, just because every week we do this, and I feel like everybody thinks I hate the freaking Orioles. I bet against them in their future. That doesn't mean I hate the Orioles. They're a fun team to watch.
Yeah,
Definitely not rooting against
I
a
bet
good
against
fan
the
base.
Orioles today. Sunny gray shove today. It was awesome.
It's always good to fade Dean Kramer, man.
It is. That is.
But I don't hate the Orioles. Don't take that I hate the Orioles. It's just we can bet against a team and not hate them. It's okay.
Yeah, I bet against the Dodgers tonight. I don't like the Dodgers. Things happen. Things happen. But shout out to the Angels, though. That's one team right now that's making me hella money right now. Angels at a huge plus price. Another huge win against the Astros tonight. They lit Framber Valdez up. Oh, baby.
They've been swinging it pretty well against lefties.
They have. Oh, yeah, it's been awesome. So, anyway, I am wearing a Philadelphia shirt. Unfortunately, it's not the most positive things to talk about right now. Just wanted to touch on this. Commish, I know you had a tweet about this Phillies schedule. Why don't you talk to him about it?
Yeah, the Phillies haven't played anybody, man. It's been crazy to see the Phillies start to this season. You know, this changes a little bit day to day, just because certain teams they'll get over the 500 mark, and other times they'll be under. But entering play today, the Phillies have played 6 games against teams with a winning record. You can see right here. And I mean, you look at the rest of baseball, it's not even close. You see, I think 18 is you see the Royals have played 18, 17 for the Rays. Like, I mean, most teams have played 20, some 30 plus games against teams with the winning record so far.
Yeah,
and the
Phillies, Rays, Dodgers, Rockies, Royals.
Yeah, the Dodgers are pretty low as well.
Yep.
And again, I mean, kudos to the Phillies. You know, they're beating the shit out of these weak teams, and teams like Tampa Bay are not taking advantage. The other thing to note is, and we were talking about this a little bit pre-show, but it's not like the Phillies schedule gets all that tough anytime soon. I know we touched on a little bit in the show last week, but you get Texas for 3. You know, you win 2 out of 3 at home against them. You get the Rockies, decrepit. I mean, an embarrassment to Major League Baseball that franchise is this year. The Giants, it's no fault of their own, but they're missing Young-Hoo Lee. They're missing Soler. Nick Ahmed has been out. I mean, they got injuries galore up and down that roster. St. Louis is a disaster with Oliver Marmol and, just some aging veterans. It is what it is. Milwaukee, first place team, they've been playing pretty well, but, nothing that you're super intimidated by coming to your home ballpark. The Mets, maybe you split a division series, a 2-game series like that. The Red Sox, 500 team. Baltimore, so like a month out from now, you have to go to Baltimore for 3 games. And then it does get a little bit tougher right before the All-Star break. You have the Braves and the Dodgers back-to-back, but there's a lot of weak games, a lot of weak teams in here, man. And it is what it is. They all count the same. You got to beat the weak teams. And, again, the Phillies are beating the weak teams. The Dodgers are beating the weak teams. So, the Rays are not beating the weak teams. So we're not sitting here shitting on the Phillies. It's just, it's worth pointing out when a team's 34-14 and everyone is talking about this team like they're God. They've beat the little sisters of the poor, more or less, to this point. But again, you have to win those games. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like you have to win those games. Phillies have 14 wins by 5 runs or more. So they're not only winning, they are blowing out teams. I think if you're a Phillies fan right now, it's just a matter of keeping everybody healthy and getting everybody playing time and stuff like that. Because I don't think that there's any world that they're going to miss the playoffs. And even if they were to slide, which I don't think is going to happen with the way the Atlanta Braves are playing right now. But even if they were to slide, this team's more than comfortable playing in a wild card spot as well. It's like I said, it's just a matter of if they can keep everybody healthy, because even we all know how well the Phillies are at home and how good that crowd is. On the road this year, they're 15-6 on the road this year. They've allowed 67 runs total on the road this year in 21 games. That's pretty damn impressive. So again, this isn't a segment of, oh, the Phillies are in trouble, they haven't played anybody. It's just an observation when you start looking through things on schedules and you look at teams teams who have played teams over 500, and you see 6 total teams with the Phillies there. It's kind of mind-boggling. So again, are there other teams that have weak schedules? Absolutely, yes. The Dodgers being one of them. So does it mean a whole bunch? No, you play the teams that are in front of you, but it did need to be mentioned. That's for sure.
Yeah. And like you said, the Dodgers best run differential in baseball. The Phillies are second. So yes, they've beat up on weak teams, but they're really, really beating up on weak teams.
Yeah. Why don't you? I know that there's other teams going up. Another big name team like the Bronx Bombers. Do you want to talk about them really quick?
No, not really. I don't. If there's a team that I do dislike, it's the Yankees. It's like I will go on record. I don't like the Yankees, but I do respect their fan base. I went to when they played the Guardians in Game 5. I think was it last year, or the year before. I was in New York for work for that and was able to catch that game. Really electric atmosphere, great fans. It's always fun going to Yankee Stadium, but I think it's worth bringing up in the context of the bat speed too, which we introduced last week with the metrics being publicly available for the first time. But Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, most home runs in baseball across the last 14 days. Judge with 6, tied with Kyle Tucker for most in baseball, and Giancarlo with 5. And Giancarlo's only played the 10 games. Man, New York is swinging it. You know, when you have Giancarlo and Aaron Judge hitting the ball over the fence like this, and then of course you have Juan Soto seeing the baseball really well. Anthony Rizzo's been swinging the bat well. Anthony Volpe's hitting the baseball out of the yard, doing a lot of damage out of the leadoff spot. All of a sudden, that lineup gets really, really long. And we're not even talking about Gleyber Torres, who's had a really rough start to the year. The Yankees, they've been better than I thought. 33-16, third best run differential in
100%.
baseball. This team has been very, very good. Clark Schmidt is pitching like the Clark Schmidt that we all expected him to look like last year. The cutter's got more velo. It's a better pitch shape. I think what we've seen from Clark Schmidt. I didn't say Cutter Crawford, did I?
No, you're about to though.
Okay, I was thinking Cutter Crawford. I'm glad it didn't come out. But Clark Schmidt really throwing the baseball well. I think the added velo, the better pitch shape has really helped him out. I think that's sustainable. Nestor Cortez has been very, very serviceable for them. Carlos Rodon has been perfectly fine. Maybe not $162 million man, but he's been perfectly fine. Garrett Cole is not out for the season, and it sounds like he's going to be making a rehab start here pretty soon. The bullpen's been very good for the Yankees. They've been very good. I mean, they're trending up. They've won 8 of their last 10 games, and that's after blowing a game to Seattle today that they probably should have won. So it is what it is. I mean, this team's playing good baseball. It's worth mentioning. Not super happy about it, but it's good for baseball when the Yankees are good, for sure.
It is good for baseball, and I think that the one thing that I can say I was probably wrong about this Yankees team. I didn't think that they would be this good because I didn't think that their pitching would be what it was, especially when you consider that Garrett Cole went down. The Yankees rotation currently has the lowest ERA as a unit since they've had since 1968. I mean, Nestor Cortez 3.56, Rondon 3.27, Clark Schmidt 2.49, Luis Gil 2.37 or 2.39, excuse me. Marcus Stroman a 3.05. I mean, this team is absolutely pitching their lights off their asses off, and Garrett Cole can still come into the rotation as well. So in May, Yankees rotation, a 2.3 ERA, a 0.97 whip, a 25.1 K percentage. I mean, it's been immaculate the way that they've been able to pitch. That whole staff needs to be applauded as well. It's been really fun to watch. There's no question about that. And what Juan Soto was doing right now is just, appalling. The bat speed numbers is amazing. 60 blasts. It's just, the numbers that he is putting up is just unreal right now. So the Yankees are extremely, extremely fun to watch.
Yeah, Juan Soto. I feel like that could have gone one of two ways with Juan Soto. Juan Soto was either going to get off to a really good start in New York and everybody was going to love him and he was going to love New York, or Juan Soto was going to get off to a bad start. They were going to boo the shit out of him. They were going to start talking about how bad his base running is. They were going to start questioning his defense. And then this whole thing would have been a disaster. It's obviously gone very, very well for him so far. They're talking about opening up extension talks midseason, which if you're the Yankees, imagine a long-term outfield situation where you have Judge and Juan Soto locked up in the outfield. You have young talent with Volpe at short. You still have guys like Garrett Cole under contract, Clark Schmidt coming into his own. The Yankees are going to spend and they're going to go get someone else. That Giancarlo money comes off the books in a couple of years. We might be talking about the Yankees for a long time. Unfortunately. We're probably
they
New York
continue
fans
to
that
pitch
watch this
this
show.
way.
We should talk nicer about. I should talk nicer about the Yankees. It's probably a lot of our viewership.
Hey, I'm just if they continue to pitch this way, they'll be in deep in the playoffs. I don't know if it's sustainable, but if it is, then more power to them. There's no question about that. So
I mean, look at the xERAs. Other than
yeah,
Rodon, I mean, Stroman's not been great, but Cortez 2.69, Gil 2.93. Gil's missing so many bats. I know the command issues are a concern, but I mean, there's not even a Garrett Cole in this rotation, and that's before we even get to the trade deadline. Is New York going to go get another arm? If they're on pace to win 105 games, New York's not going to sit there with their thumbs up their ass at the trade deadline, especially if Juan Soto's still in a walk here come July.
agreed.
Well, what
Well,
about you? I'm done talking about the Yankees. They got their 4 minutes, 5 minutes of good conversation, their praise. We got to talk about another team now.
Well, I don't want to talk about a team. We're starting to get into the part of the year where you're going to start seeing some really good young prospects come up, and I just felt like I should really point out a couple of guys that are really going to be fun to watch. For the Nationals, James Wood. Dude's absolutely huge, 6'7", 234, absolutely raking in AAA right now, 356 average. Slugging 582 with a 460 on base percentage. Or I'm sorry, reverse that. But either way, really good. 7 home runs. Like I said, absolutely raking. And we saw this in spring training, and he was leading spring training in home runs for a while. Obviously, he's got to fight for time between Lane Thomas and Joey Gallo. But Lane Thomas has obviously been hurt. Wood will be taking playing time away from them, but I really, really think that Washington can probably move one of those players if not. But like I said, James Wood is like a fascinating prospect to watch. The Rays, another one I don't really know about as far as the Rays are concerned as far as their team, but Junior Caminero, when he comes up, he's going to be one to watch. Slash line. Yeah, exactly. Slash line in AAA right now, 314, 379, 562 with 7 homers, 20 RBIs. He has one of some of the best bat speeds in the minors, has power to all fields. He's figured it out defensively. The reason that he's not playing right now is a guy like Isaac Paredes is right there in front of him. And obviously Paredes is batting 305 right now with a 157 OPS plus. So he's not going anywhere, but the Rays are going to
play short though.
I was just about to say he can play other positions, including shortstop. So once they feel comfortable with his versatility, I think they're going to bring him up. I think they're just a little bit worried about his defense right now. But Caminero, he made his major league debut last September. He went 8 for 34 with 7 RBIs. So I think he'll be comfortable at the plate once he gets up there as well. The last guy I want to talk about is Olivares Martinez for the Jays. Another guy that can play second base, third base, shortstop. Just a little guy, but he's like one of their best prospects, and I guess it's a super. I was reading about him earlier today, and it's really surprising that the Jays haven't given him there's some run already this season with their offense being it is. Martinez has a plus arm in the outfield as well. He's essentially a 5-tool player. The Blue Jays have made him almost a full-time second baseman in the minors, but I think that I think he needs to improve defensively. He had 11 errors in 27 games at second base, but again, that's a position that he's not super relative to playing, but once he figures that out, we're going to be seeing him as well. So a couple other guys really quickly to Colby Mayo for the Orioles, the third baseman, absolutely raking as well. He should be fun. So I just wanted to figure out something new to talk about besides just teams that are going up and down. Sometimes I don't think that you need us to tell you who's bad and who's good as far as in Major League Baseball. So I was just trying to change things a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, there's a Major League Baseball's in a really good spot with so much young talent in the league right now, even more on the way. The Orioles system just feels like it's going to keep producing more and more talent. And we're fatigued with Jackson Holliday right now because he came up and he didn't absolutely hit the piss out of the baseball. So we're not even talking about him, but he's another guy who has otherworldly potential. And, he's going to be back up at some point this summer, you'd have to assume.
Yeah. Well, why don't I know there's somebody else, speaking of raking, I know somebody else that's raking on a daily basis right now over in that dirty water city of Boston.
Yeah, we should mention Rafael Devers has hit a home run in 6 straight games in case that's somehow slipped under the radar. Because baseball, it does, man. There's 15 games every single day. It's a lot of work just to keep up with your local team. Sometimes you miss some of the national headlines, but yeah, Rafi Devers hit another home run today. We call him Rafi Taters. My one friend's a huge Rafi Devers fan, and we call him Rafi Taters. And he hit another home run today. So that's 6 games in a row, hit a home run. The bat flips keep getting more and more creative every single day, it seems like. So tomorrow he'll go for 7. And he's got a decent matchup tomorrow again. They're back at the Trop, I believe, with it is. Yeah, Zach Littell's on the bump. We shall see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, he's hitting an absolute piss out of the baseball right now.
Yeah, and the Rays have owned Boston, and Boston with a huge win today. So that should be fun to see the rest of that series. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think what have they won? Like 18 out of the last 20. Tampa's won like 18 of the last 23 at the Trop, I believe.
Yeah, 18 of the last 23. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, it's something crazy. Just overall, it's like I want to say they're like 17-4 overall, home and away against Boston, or something crazy like that. Yeah, it's been no good for Boston against that team, but they figured it out today, so that's for sure. But anyway, what goes up must come down, as we always say. Did you want to talk about Miami and how bad they've been?
Yeah, just real quick, because every year, this is self-deprecating. This is the only reason I'm bringing this up, because I know I already shit on the Marlins a lot this year. Every year, I have bet on just one team, to have the worst record in baseball. I make one bet preseason. Every single year I have bet into this market. The team that I've bet on to have the fewest wins in Major League Baseball has had the second fewest wins in Major League Baseball. So this year, I was looking at the board and I was like, oh, there's some obvious candidates. The White Sox, especially after they traded Dylan Cease, could be pretty bad. Colorado, I think, is one of the worst teams we've seen in the last 10, 15 years in Major League Baseball. A couple of very obvious candidates. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with Miami. They're 75-1. They have the worst record in baseball. Things could go south. No Alcantara, Yuri Perez. We didn't know what was going on at the time. Not a great offense. I think they overperformed a lot last year, especially in one-run games. So I was like, Miami could regress a little bit. I know me and you, Toast, were both on. We like reverse laddered their win total for the regular season. I bet the Marlins 75-1 to have the worst record in Major League Baseball this year. They are now the odds-on favorite to have the fewest wins in baseball. So I promise you, they are going to end up with the second fewest wins in baseball. Either the White Sox or the Rockies are somehow going to end up with a worse record. And this will be, I think, the 5th straight season that the one team I bet on has finished with the second fewest wins. So if you're looking at the market right now, you either need to bet on the White Sox or the Rockies, because I promise you it won't be the Marlins. The Marlins will somehow find a way to be better than exactly one team.
I don't know, man. We'll see. I think you're going to be sweating that out till the very end, be dead honest with you, but we'll see. That's for sure.
We shall see. It's the Marlins are a bad team. I mean, that team just finds ways to lose games. Tanner Scott's going to be shipped out. He's having a halfway decent year out of the pen, but he's allowing a lot of traffic. I don't know. Sixto Sanchez, have you watched Sixto pitch recently?
Yes, he's terrible.
Dude, I feel bad for him. Like, on a human level. I know sometimes we poke fun at major leaguers and it's easy to be a critic. Those guys, at the end of the day, those guys are the ones that are in the arena. Like, they're the ones that are actually in that vulnerable state where they're going out, they're trying to do something that's really hard. And so it's easy for us to poke fun at them, but he has been so bad. Like, he does not look physically capable of being on a major league mound.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. So has he looked bad? Yes. He's looked particularly bad in the first innings. He hasn't been terrible second, third, usually doesn't get very much farther than that. But my point, I don't know. I'm not trying to make a case that Sixto is going to make a comeback. That's not it. But I do know that was part of it. I know that
he threw 40 pitches in the first on Sunday against the Mets.
Yeah, I know their manager talked about that. Skip Schumacher talked about that as well, but I don't know. I think that they could definitely see Tanner Scott moving. I could definitely see a team possibly trading for AJ Puck as a reliever as well. Jesus Luzardo has a 5 ERA and 7 starts and spent some time on the IL, but since coming back, he's been much decent. He's definitely on a list. I have a list of guys I was going to talk about later about trade targets. Those guys are definitely trade targets as well. So if they get rid of Scott, Puck, Luzardo, who knows what's going to be left of this Marlins team come after the trade deadline.
There's already nothing there.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah,
I'm with you. But anyway, I'm not going to bring this up again until at least after the All-Star break, because I guarantee Miami's going to have the worst record in baseball probably through July, and then I'll bring it up again one more time, and then we'll revisit it as we get closer to the end of the season. But I'm just letting you know right now, one team will end up with a better record than Miami. Only one.
We'll see. Speaking about teams with good records, though, one team that I do want to talk about is the Texas Rangers, because it is absolutely ridiculous how this team has been being priced over and over again like a good team, and they're just simply not a good baseball team right now. They're a 500 baseball team, but in a lot of splits, like I said, they're barely a 500 baseball team at that. I just wanted to point that out. I understand that there's definitely talent on that roster. There's no question about that. But at the same time, like when you're looking at it, it's with the injuries that they have, it's just not the same team. And with that pitching staff, I just don't know what we can really expect from them right now. So I just wanted to put a heads up on this Texas Rangers team, because they're a team that I understand they're playing bad right now. They get swept by Colorado. Cleveland came up and whooped up on them. LA came up and whooped on them. But keep in mind, then they got to go on the road to Philly and play Philly. They got to go on the road and play Minneapolis and play the Twins. Depending on which pitchers throw the Twins out there, that could be a hard matchup for them. They get a little bit of a break with Arizona and Miami, but again, the prices that this team is going to be commanding is absolutely crazy. So I just wanted to point that out, because it seems like this team constantly gets talked about as some solid team, and they're far from it right now. I understand that they're second in their division, but they're a 500 baseball team. That AL West is nothing pretty right now at all. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know what your thoughts are on the Rangers, but yeah, that's mine.
They got the best run differential in their division.
Yeah.
+6.
Do you trust the Rangers? Do you trust the Rangers?
God, no. I think I said before the season, I said Texas, their one job is they have to stay afloat until they get some of this pitching back. And Scherzer now looks a little bit more cloudy than he did 2 months ago, and he's obviously on the older side. We don't know what they're going to get with Tyler Mahle and, DeGrom, probably not this year. But
okay, but that's my point. But what do you really expect from Max Scherzer? Like, do you? I mean,
no, I don't. I don't expect. Okay. But
I didn't mean you personally. I'm just saying that I know that the general public are sitting there thinking, "Oh, okay, cool." Even Mahle, but I don't know what to really expect from him at times. I mean, he was, you know what I mean? So, this will be his third team in a few years. I mean, I really don't know what to expect from him. And is DeGrom good? Yeah. But again, are we going to get him for 1 start, 5 starts? I mean, we don't know.
Or any.
Or you're right. Or any. I mean, and if you look at the starters that they have right now, I mean, Gray, Eovaldi. I mean, those are your top 2 guys, essentially. I mean, I guess I trust Nate Eovaldi, but I don't trust John Gray. I don't trust.
But even Eovaldi, do you trust him to stay healthy?
I don't know about him. I don't know about trusting him to stay healthy. But if they're in the playoffs, do I trust Nate Eovaldi? 100%. Yes.
Oh yeah. And when he's healthy, he's an ace. It's just every single year we see him at some point not be healthy.
But I mean, they're in such bad shape that they're giving Urania, a decent run to become a starter for them. I mean, and he's started. You know what I mean? No, but that's the truth. It's the truth.
I know.
That's where they are right now. So
we really
I'm
need
and he's pitched well. I'm not trying to shit on him because he has pitched well. But if that's where you are as an organization, Like, and you're
Yeah.
gonna, especially betting perspective, and you're constantly being priced again like the world champion. Like, and that's not the same damn team. There's not one person in that bullpen that's good besides Yates. Not one. So
Yeah, and even Urania on the
Yates, by the way, has
surface
been
it looks
fantastic.
good, but
Kirby Yates, you are an all-star. You have been fantastic. Applaud to you. But
oh
everybody
yeah,
else, you suck.
for sure. And I was even like Urania, he's surviving on a 237 average on balls in play. Like that's going to regress. His K percentage is 15%, among the worst in baseball. Not great command. I mean, he's getting a lot of ground balls, but like this is not a guy that you're eager to send out there on a daily basis. And if you at any point have an option to not send him out there, you're not going to send him out there. So it is. I mean, it is what it is. Like that division, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. You know my thoughts. I've been on the Mariners since opening day. I'm still on the Mariners, but here comes Houston, back within 5 games of first place. And Seattle, Texas, they've had this entire first 2 months of the season to really assert themselves and put some distance between them and Houston. And now Houston's starting to play a little bit better baseball, starting to get a little healthier. And now the bad guys are right back there again. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think any of these teams has been overly impressive so far. Oakland, shout out to them. We talk about how impressive they've been. They lose 8 in a row. They've lost 9 out of 10, making us look really smart on this show. But they'll be back. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't trust Texas, but someone's got to win baseball games in Major League Baseball right now. And I think Texas is just one of those teams, like so many teams in baseball, that because of injuries, they're starting so many bad pitchers on a weekly basis. I mean, even Cleveland's 31-17, but they're running out guys like Ben Lively, Carlos Carrasco. Those are not plan A starters. I mean, there's good teams in baseball right now that are sending out guys who are just not very good. And of course, there's a lot of bad teams starting bad pitchers too. So I think Texas is going to win a fair number of games just because of their offense, but it'll be interesting to see what they do here going as they get closer to the All-Star break and getting some of these guys back.
Agreed. They're going to win. And not that I put like a ton of stock into this, but if you look at the FanGraphs projections to make the playoffs, especially in that division, Mariners 63%, Astros 50%, Rangers 27.5% chance to make the playoffs. So they're another one of those teams where I don't want to like give out 2 bets in the same division for teams not to make the playoffs. I feel like that's kind of hard to do. But if you're getting a decent price at the Rangers not to make the playoffs, I wouldn't hate that as a look, because I think that you're probably going to get a decent price, or just to keep an eye on it. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, we got the Astros at even money. God, it's hard to just find some of these bets sometimes. There's so many options, which is cool. I mean, like I just remember when I first started betting, there was nowhere near as many options as there are now. Texas is minus 130 to miss the playoffs on DK.
Okay, it's not what I really wanted.
Yeah, you probably have to give me a little bit better value there, especially with some of those guys coming back.
Yeah, definitely would want a little bit better number on that. But
anyway, you had some trade targets that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, just again, I just think that it's getting to a point of the season where you can look at records and stuff to find out who's good and who's not, but we can definitely start figuring out guys that could be on the move that could help some guys, some other teams going away. So, first couple of guys, look at obviously the White Sox. Who are they going to let go? I think Fetty's the most likely guy to probably go. They signed him in the offseason to a 2-year deal. So I understand that he didn't look good today. I guess that's fresh in my mind, but he was 4-0 with a 2.6 ERA and 9 starts coming into today. And keep in mind, he was a former first-round pick as well. So obviously figured things out over in South Korea. So he's definitely a guy that can be on the move, that could definitely eat some innings for a playoff team. Michael Kopech is another guy that definitely they would let go if the price is right. He's under team control through next season. So again, if they don't let him go now, they might let him go a little bit later. And then Tommy Pham, another guy that obviously nobody really wanted to sign coming into the season for some reason. No one knows why. I know. But he came in here and he's been off to a very hot start for them. So I still think that he can definitely help. Taylor Ward, another guy from the Angels, like another guy that I think that's playing really good baseball right now that a lot of people don't know who he is, but Ward hitting 275 with 10 homers and 28 RBIs. We talked about Luzardo earlier as well. He's the guy that I think could definitely go. The Rockies, I understand that catching is kind of like a funky position, especially coming over in the middle of the year. It's usually don't see that typically, but Elias Diaz, keep in mind, 2023 All-Star Game MVP, and starting off this year, nice, 299, 342, 423 slash line so far. That's like his career best number. So if you're looking, if you need a catcher or somebody that you can just trust off the bench, Elias Diaz would be one of those guys. So again, just a couple guys just to take a look at. Oh, Ryan Helsley of the Cardinals, one of the better closers in baseball. The Cardinals would probably ask for a shit ton in return. But if Cardinals start sliding, you might be able to see it because Helsley's been really good for them. 1.35 ERA, 13 saves, and he's under team control only through next season as well. So one of those guys that if you don't move him soon or sign him, you're not going to get nothing from him. So again, just trying to figure out different ways to take a look at Major League Baseball right now. So I figured out those are the best ways to look at it.
The Cardinals are a really interesting team.
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt's a 2025 free agent.
Yeah, he's on the list too. I just didn't want to say his name because I don't know if I believe they actually do it. But
I don't know how many people would want Paul Goldschmidt. I know that's a bold take too, but
I do. I think
I get
what you're saying,
Paul Goldschmidt, but what would you give up for a guy who's 36 and clearly been on the decline for a couple of years? Because the Cardinals aren't giving you a Paul Goldschmidt for nothing.
I think that you could probably get him for maybe a couple middle level prospects or something like that. I mean, I just depending on what the money is and stuff, but you're also looking at a guy that has plus defense at first base, a strong locker room guy that you can trust. Yeah, I would assume that he's definitely Gage's interest. That's for sure. Especially with Nolan Gorman and Mason Wynn there, and I know that those guys don't play first, but Nolan Gorman could play first. I think that they would let Goldschmidt go if somebody made the right offer. Personally,
no, that would be interesting. That would be a very interesting situation to watch unfold because it's an older guy like that too. You put him in a new environment, does it reinvigorate him? We've seen that a time or two as well.
Well, we've seen that, and that's it's funny that you said that because that's why, like, if the Cardinals were to send it, let's say, an outfielder away, Dylan Carlson, Newt Barr, Jordan Walker, who's in the minors right now, Victor Scott, Tommy Edmonds been on the IL, but think about the guys that the Cardinals have traded away: Adolis Garcia, Randy Rosarina, Tyler O'Neill, that have went on to be really, really good guys. Brendan Donovan, another guy that hits leadoff for them that, I mean, was hot for a while. So, yeah, the Cardinals are very, very interesting to say the least. So,
yeah, I think especially with the market, because I know everybody's talking about Pete Alonso, and Pete Alonso may or may not get traded. I'll believe that when I see it.
I've been saying that since the start of the season, man.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see about him, but it's really not. There's not a lot of big names or like big impact bats in the trade market. Goldschmidt is one of those guys that I think a lot of teams would be willing to take a chance on because Bellinger's probably not going anywhere, you would assume. Rizzo's not leaving New York, a first place team. Rhys Hoskins isn't getting traded away from a first place team.
No one cares about Josh Bell.
Yeah, like the rest of this list down, you don't care about. I mean, these are guys that you'll take for pennies on the dollar just to give your team a little bit more depth and some more veteran presences. But there's not a whole lot of impact first baseman on the market. You go to third base, it's the same situation. You have, Bregman probably not getting traded from Houston at any point, especially if they have a chance in a division that no one's running away with. And then there's really nobody else at third base. So like these really impactful corner infield spots, there's just not there's just not a lot there. So it makes names like Paul Goldschmidt really, really interesting because he's going to be on a losing team more than likely. He's not having a very good year. What's the price? I think that it's going to be an interesting situation to watch unfold for sure.
100%. Do you want to talk about Goat Imanaga?
Yes.
I forget how Beaver says it. Goat Managa. I can't figure it out. I'm not Beaver, but
Yeah, so really appreciate these questions, by the way, guys. This is we pulled this
Yes.
one from our show last week in the comments, and really good questions. Your guys' thoughts on him to start the season, maybe why Japanese pitchers find success in the majors with guys like Yamamoto, Senga also coming over and having some good success. What are your thoughts? I know you watch baseball probably even a little bit more than I do. I've seen almost all of his starts, but I'm curious your thoughts on him, and then Japanese or like these Asian born pitchers that come over from the NPB and in the KBO and have success in the big leagues.
Yeah, I just think that obviously when they come over, I think it's a big deal for them. I can understand if they were to get off to slow starts because obviously with the language barrier and all that stuff, but they also go through a pretty rigorous training over there. So I don't really super worry about those guys. I understand there gets a lot of made about paying them money and never throwing a Major League Baseball pitch and stuff, but baseball is very prevalent over there. So it's not really like crazy to think that they would be very good. And what Shoto's been doing for the Cubs has been absolutely amazing. I mean, you're looking at like Fernando Venezuela stuff back in 1981. This is the type of run that he is on. And it's been really, really special to watch. And when he's taken them out, I mean, he's honestly keeping the Cubs alive right now. I mean, the Cubs are 8-1 when Imanaga starts, and 18-20 in every other game. So, and 6 of those wins from Imanaga starts followed a loss. So that at least he's keeping them from losing back-to-back games. I think that he's very, very special. I mean, he had one bad start of 4 innings against the Dodgers. But besides that, I mean, he's been really, really good. His 58 strikeouts through his first 9 starts ranks 3rd in Cubs history behind Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. Both of those guys were, I mean, like some of the better pitchers in Cubs history. So yeah, I think that he's been absolutely amazing. As you can see by that chart, it's very good. So I don't think it's a flash in the pan at all. I think he's here to stay. The same thing with Yamamoto as well. Obviously, Yamamoto struggled to start. He came back and he's been pitching extremely well. Again, tonight, Yamamoto again pitching well tonight again. So, yeah, I think they're here to stay. And there's probably going to be more like Roki Sasaki coming over next year as well. So, and he's going to be even more fun to watch because he's like Hunter Green. He just throws it super hard. So, yeah, I think it's really fun.
Is it too? It's definitely overly simplistic to say that the splitter has a lot to do with these guys coming over and having a lot of success. I mean, Yamamoto has an elite fastball by a lot of different metrics. You look at the pitch shape of that pitch, and go ahead.
I think to undersimplify it, or however you want to say that, I think they know how to pitch better. I think they know their level of sequencing and stuff like that all is just a little bit better usually than the Americans. I could be wrong about that, but usually with us, it's like velocity, and we'll figure everything else out. I don't think it's like that for them, which I think that gives them a little bit of an advantage.
I think that's an interesting point that you bring up because there's been a few guys that have gone overseas to play baseball who have talked about there's a lot more intentionality with the way pitchers sequence over there. And there's guys who have gone over there and they come back and they've revitalized their career, or they've just come back and had some more success. Eric Fetty's a good one. And they talk about utilizing their fastball to get ahead in counts, and then they dance outside the strike zone once they get to 2 strikes. And it seems like a fairly simple concept. And there's baseball academies and factories all over the country. I run one of them, and not at the level that some of these like Ghost National and like Canes Nationals, another one. Like we have Major League Scout teams with the Mets and the Padres, all these teams. Like there's all of these really, really high level programs. The Bo Jackson's another one like that are all over the country that are doing great things, that they're taking all the top talent in the country. And it makes very little sense when you think about it in that context of like, how do American pitchers end up in the big leagues without really understanding how to pitch when there's seemingly so many check boxes that they have to check to get to that point. But it really does seem like in America, we are so obsessed with velocity that a lot of times the art of pitching is devalued. Like we don't see Greg Maddux archetype pitchers pitch in the big leagues anymore. We don't see guys on prospect lists that are throwing less than 95 miles an hour. I mean, if you don't have a great heater, why are we talking about you? I read scouting reports every single year talking about guys that are in lower levels of baseball that are coming through the ranks and like, well, he's got a good changeup, but we have no idea if he's going to be good or not because his fastball sucks. And then you have guys like Yamamoto. You have Senga came over. Like the splitter, I think is definitely part of it because it's a really rare pitch that not a lot of American born and bred pitchers throw a lot. So I think that definitely is a unique look. I remember Pete Alonso was taking live at bats against Kodai Senga last spring training, and he was talking to reporters one day after the session. He goes, "I've literally never seen a pitch move like this in my entire life." So I think there is a uniqueness factor with the split finger, with the ghost fork ball that Senga throws. Like I think that's definitely part of it. I think the sequencing, I think that's a really good point that you brought up. I think they're just really intelligent. It's an intelligent game that they play overseas too. A lot when you have a lot more contact oriented hitters, there's a lot more small ball. Like I think it forces you to think about what you're doing on the mound a lot more in a way that you just don't in America. I mean, there's guys who don't have very good actual numbers in terms of run prevention that make it on a top prospect list that continue to get elevated through the minor leagues, or they make it through college or whatever because they can throw 98, 99. They don't have great command, but everybody just goes, well, we'll figure that out at some point. And yeah, I mean, maybe it is fair to say like they're just the art of pitching is taken more seriously in other parts of the world. And that's why I think events like the World Baseball Classic are so cool because we get to see that there's a ton of talent, like real legitimate talent playing baseball all across the world. It's not just Major League Baseball that has guys who can throw the pill to it at a high level or, do some of these things that we really respect and that get big like Yamamoto signed for $325 million. Yeah. Not for no reason. 95 mile an hour fastball with good ride with the split finger and a curveball that, probably the best curveball command I've seen in the last 5-10 years. The special pitcher. So I don't know if that answers the question or not about these guys coming over, but I think a lot of it just has to do with the art of pitching. I think sequencing, and I do think we would be negligent to not include the uniqueness of the split finger, but I think it's probably a combination of those factors.
Yeah, and I also think that you're going to see teams probably start taking a little bit more risk on a lot of these players with how big the World Baseball Classic has become. And the way that, especially with the world of betting and how big the KBO is. I mean, like, for instance, I just pulled up an article from November 2nd of 2023, and it talks about KBO and MPB stars that we could see in Major League Baseball soon. Let me know if you guys have heard of these guys. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Young-Hoo Lee, Shota Imanaga, Yariel Rodriguez, who plays for the Blue Jays, Yuki Matsui, reliever for the Padres, Eric Fetty, who we just talked about, and then JJ Wendelken, who I don't think he's done anything in Major League Baseball yet. But regardless, my point being is that there's a lot of guys coming over, a lot of guys that were in 2 years ago or a year ago that were slotted to come over to have success, and there's going to be more guys coming over as well as well this year. So it's going to be really fun to watch. Like I said, Roki Sasaki is one of them, and like I said, once I think that you're going to see certain guys, whether it be from Japan or all the way from Australia, if they have success in the World Baseball Classic, you're probably going to see them in Major League Baseball.
I do agree. But that's a good question. I think it's going to be interesting to follow too. Now, pitch tracking has gotten so advanced that you're no longer guessing. Like when what was his name? Was it Masahiro Tanaka? Was that his name for the Yankees? Daisuke Matsuzaka came over. Those guys were a little bit more of a risk because you knew they were good, and of course you sent scouts to go see these guys before you take a chance on them. But now we have legitimate data to say, well, his fastball has more, it has more vertical break than X player, or his split finger is comparable to Kevin Gausman, who has a really good split finger, or whoever. Like you can look at these pitches and you know how they grade, and you have a very narrow parameter of what to expect. That I think it's no longer a tremendous risk to take on $300 million for Yamamoto, to take on $300 million for Sasaki next year, and the next 5-10 guys who come over. I agree with you 100%. I think you're going to start seeing teams invest more and more in global talent, and it's going to be great for the game of baseball for sure.
Yep. Shout out young Cam, Yankees fans, probably favorite ever Asian reliever.
Yeah.
Yankees fans will know what that means if they're Yankees fans.
Well, what about one other guy? We had another question on the show. Really nice comment as well. Appreciate these nice words. Love how informative the show is. But thoughts on Skenes was the question. Looks great in his couple starts, both against the Cubs, obviously. Looks great. I mean, I'm not like poking fun of the question. It's a really good question, but it's kind of crazy how great Paul Skenes has looked, considering this dude was just pitching at LSU last year.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I obviously we had the question, so I have a couple notes on Paul Skenes. Just threw a no-hitter in 6 innings in his second career start, exiting after a 100-mile-an-hour fastball past Mike Tauchman on his 100th and final pitch. They won that game 9-3. So even late in his last pitch of his outing, he's still throwing 100 miles an hour. That's absolutely insane. Skenes struck out 11 guys, generating 22 swings and misses from a 5-pitch mix, prominently his fastball, splitter, and slider. He allowed 1 base runner in the 5th inning, which was a walk with Michael Busch. So a couple of things as far as Pirates history with that start. So on Friday, Skenes became the first Pirates pitcher since 1900 to strike out the first 7 batters of a game. He's also the first Pirates pitcher to strike out 11 or more batters at Wrigley Field. He's the 5th Pirates pitcher in franchise history with an outing of 10-plus strikeouts in his first 2 career games. And guess what? His fellow rookie, Jared Jones, did it earlier in this season. So Pittsburgh, I know this is about Paul Skenes, but between him and Jared Jones, Pittsburgh has something very, very special at the top of that rotation.
Yeah. I'm pulling up his Savant page. The guy averaged 99 miles an hour on his fastball.
Well, and if you look, that's actually below average. So really, he does average 100 on his fastball.
Yep. And he topped out at 101. Like you said, I mean, he struck out the first 7 guys he faced in that game. It was unbelievable.
Crazy.
And I think even more impressive is, so again, very, very minimal competition above the collegiate level of baseball. And there is a massive, I cannot stress enough, massive difference in talent between college hitters and professional hitters, like MLB professional hitters. There's a massive jump in talent between collegiate hitters and even just like the lower levels of the minor leagues. Paul Skenes, with basically no time in the minors whatsoever, comes up, pitches well against the Cubs, and then has one of the toughest tests that a pitcher will ever have, facing the same lineup of professional big league hitters twice in 1 week.
Good point.
And he comes up, like you said, 6 no-hit innings, 11 strikeouts, 22 whiffs on 100 pitches, 54 swings. And he did it with multiple pitches. I mean, he's missing bats with this 4-seamer, his splitter, and his slider, all with a 38% whiff rate or higher. The teams pay $300 million in free agency to get a guy who has 2 pitches that can generate swings and misses like this. It's been 2 starts. He's a very young pitcher, and I know it's the Cubs. We cannot overstress it enough. It is the Cubs. But a 59% Z contact rate, which is a contact rate on swings and pitches in the zone, is absolutely absurd. Absurd. League averages in the 70s or it might even been in the 80s. I have to go look at my document, but I'll pull it up in a second. But it is absolutely absurd what Paul Skenes is doing. This guy's must-see TV at this point.
Well, he is must-see TV, and he's one of those guys that I feel like I'm going to really end up liking to watch. I was watching an interview with him, and one of the reporters asked him about hitters adjusting to his stuff, and he essentially was just like, yeah, good luck, dude. Like, literally, that's like cool, calm, collected. What didn't like sound arrogant about it, but it was just like, oh, shit. Like, he trusts his stuff. Yes, like he is extremely confident in his stuff. So, him and Jared, like I said, him and Jared Jones, really, really fun to watch.
100%. And league average Z contact rate this year, 85.8%. So 59% on the fastball. Again, 1 start. We see that from time to time, but it's some absurd stuff that he's doing. He's making big league hitters look really, really bad. Guys who have had a lot of success at the big league level, making them look really, really bad. So be exciting to follow him this year. Again, like just hope he can stay healthy and all of that. But very, very fun to watch. I think everybody who said Paul Skenes is not gonna be good in the big leagues, that he's an overrated prospect, I think they can go kick rocks at this point. So it's
100%.
good for Pirates fans. The team's coming together a little bit. You know, they're still 5 games out of first place, 5.5 games out of first place, but it's not like Milwaukee's a juggernaut. Chicago definitely not a juggernaut. That I still feel like that division's up for the taking.
I would agree, 100% agree as well. So I don't know if the Pirates are going to take it, but they definitely have a chance if these guys can continue to pitch like this. They're going to they got to figure out a way to shore up that bullpen. I mean, I understand that Bender's an all-star and stuff, but they haven't pitched like it so far. So they do got to figure that out.
We shall see. We shall see. But why don't you get us out of here with some feel goods this week?
Yeah, just a couple things. Really quickly, I wanted to touch on the attendance really quick, but I also really quickly wanted to say Athletic did a really good article about pitchers who are in a buy low situation with the guys who have like a good strikeout to walk ratio. And then they're also all their pitch stuff, like stuff plus, location plus, pitch stuff, location, all average out at very high guys or levels. So there should be getting some positive regression there's ways. So guys like Kevin Gausman, Garrett Crochet, Tanner Bybee, Nestor Cortez, Patrick Sandoval, all these guys. It's a really good article on The Athletic, but I just wanted to point that out because we're always looking for guys to try to find that it could be in good sneaky spots. You probably get some good prices on those guys as well. Excuse me. And then as far as Major League Baseball goes, just talking again, growing the game, talking about the game growing. This weekend's average attendance was 34,465. That was the best Major League Baseball seen since 2014. So yeah, they're having highest day totals on Tuesdays and Wednesdays as well. So it's just it's a really, really good time to be a fan of baseball. That's for sure. So a lot of the teams are doing a lot of cool giveaways and parties in the park, and kids run the bases and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's really, really cool.
We love when people love baseball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you going to talk about Jose Ramirez a little bit before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, he's my feel good of the week. This isn't a homer thing or anything like that. This guy, Cleveland basically told him to fuck off with, like, we're not going to pay you. Well, he was like a day away from being traded to the Blue Jays, and Jose Ramirez was like, "Fuck it, what's the max you're willing to pay me? I'll just take it. I want to be in Cleveland. I like living here. I like the clubhouse. I like the team. I like everything about, where my family is and all of that." Took arguably the most team-friendly deal of all time for a superstar to stay in Cleveland. And the dude just continues to rake and rake and rake and rake. Already 11 home runs to start this season, and he got off to a little bit of a slow start. The average still isn't where you'd expect it to be, but just truly one of the tier 1 players in Major League Baseball. Does it in a small market, has a team that goes out of its way to try not to win baseball games. 31-17, best record in the American League Central, one of the best run differentials in baseball, and that's with losing guys like Shane Bieber, not having Tristan McKenzie healthy, Gavin Williams not healthy, traded away Aaron Savali last year. They don't have the bullpen that they've had in years past behind Emmanuel Clase because Trevor Steppen's not there. You can go on and on and on about like how little this team has and how they're not trying to win. I mean, the front office has gone as far as to say we're going to ride or die with the young guys plus Jose Ramirez this year. And Jose Ramirez is right at the center of all of this, putting up numbers in a lineup that is very, very weak across the board. Very, very poor numbers against right-handed pitching, last 14, last 30. And J-Ram just continues to rake day in, day out, puts good swings on the baseball. He had an at-bat the other day, 10, 11, 12 pitches, hit a ball out to right field. The guy is just a very, very special baseball player. And I think a lot of times we forget about him because he plays in Cleveland, and he's not the most marketable player in Major League Baseball, but man, he's a lot of fun to watch. And man, Cleveland fans are lucky to have him. We're too lucky to have a guy like Jose Ramirez who could have went and got $50, $75 million more probably on the open market, if not more than that. Really, really lucky to have him at the hot corner.
I can tell you right now, not only, I mean, you guys might not be able to hit right-handed pitching, but you sure as hell know how to win baseball games. You're playing really good baseball right now. You know, not to mention you have a series coming up against the Mets at home, which just 3 winnable baseball games, and then the on the road against the Angels, Colorado, and then back home against the against the Nationals and the Royals, and then back on the road to Miami. I mean, you go into the All-Star break, you might have a pretty decent side division lead. I mean, if the Twins continue to play like they have, I mean, you're only 2 games up on the Royals right now, but man, I mean, 30-17. I mean, that's a hell of a start for the Cleveland Guardians for a team that's not trying to win baseball games.
Yeah, well, and they're another one of these teams though that have an incredibly weak schedule. They had 42 of their first 63 games this year against teams that had a losing record last year, and of course, that's not a perfect science. Teams are going to get better, get worse, but very, very weak schedule. And you mentioned the teams coming up. I mean, they should be favored in probably 5, 8, 11, 14 out of 17, 14 of the next 17 games. They should probably be favored.
They are 13-7 against teams above 500. So
no, and they are. I'm just saying, like the first part of their schedule was the hard part. Like they had to go out west right away, which probably isn't the worst thing in the world because they train out in Arizona anyway. But they're out on the West Coast for the first 8 days of the season. They come back. They didn't play their first home game until April 8th. And then you get New York, Boston again, Atlanta, Houston. Like that was supposed to be the tough part of that first 63 games. And they've survived that and then some. And now they get to go play the bottom feeders of Major League Baseball. This is a team that legitimately could go into the All-Star break with 55 wins.
Yep, 100%. So, only team with more wins in Major League Baseball right now is the Yankees with 33. So, yeah, really, really special. Only 3 teams in Major League Baseball have 30 wins. Who would have thought that 2 of them were going to be from the freaking Central?
And one of them's not the Twins.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Oh man. On that note, we should probably get out of here. We're at 57 minutes. Keep it under an hour for the people. That's always positive.
Look at us sticking to a schedule.
Hey, growing up, man. That's what you do. Responsibility.
It took us to what, week eight to get under an hour?
And we're still cutting it close. But anyway, yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for all the comments, whenever you guys leave questions and stuff, and continue to show up and watch the show. From the bottom of my heart, I really, really appreciate that. And thank you always to Kyle for allowing us for his platform for the show. Greatly, greatly appreciated. So, anything else from you, Commish?
No, just echo everything you just said. Really appreciative of Kyle letting us put it on the channel and have some good interactions with his audience, and of course to the audience for being so interactive and caring about the show and asking good questions. And it's cool to come on here and talk baseball for an hour each week and have you guys indulge us. So hopefully the content's informative and a little bit entertaining, and we like the jokes too. Don't be afraid to razz us a little bit. We can take it.
We do love to joke. And hey, shout out Pablo Lopez tonight against the Nationals. 5 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs. We'll see you guys next Monday night. Have a good night.
We're cutting the end of the show. We're cutting it. See you guys.